You've been living inside a story that was never yours to begin with. A story where your inner state depends on everyone and everything around you, where strangers hold the keys to your peace, where circumstances dictate your emotional reality, where you're constantly at the mercy of forces outside your control. But what if I told you there's an entirely different way to exist in this world? What if you could move through life completely untouched by the chaos that sends everyone else spiraling? There are beings among us who seem to operate from a different dimension of consciousness. You've seen them, the ones who remain centered when everyone else is losing their minds. Someone attacks their character. They smile with genuine compassion. A crisis unfolds around them. They respond with clear, calm action. The world tries to pull them into drama. They simply don't participate. It's as if they've discovered a secret frequency that makes them immune to the emotional turbulence that drowns most people. The question that changes everything is this: what do they understand about the nature of reality that most people never grasp? Because here's what's happening in the quantum field of consciousness. Most humans are living as if they're victims of their own experience, as if reality is something that happens to them rather than something they're actively creating through their state of being. Think about how most people navigate their days. Weather turns gray and their mood shifts with it. A text message goes unanswered and their self-worth begins to waver. A stranger gives them an odd glance, and they spend hours constructing elaborate stories about what it might mean. This is the human condition most accept as normal. Being emotional pinballs, ricocheting from reaction to reaction, completely unconscious of their power to choose their internal state. But there's something profound happening when you witness those rare individuals who seem unaffected by the external world. They haven't mastered some complex emotional technique. They haven't spent decades in meditation retreats. They've simply recognized a fundamental truth about consciousness that shifts everything. The world you experience is not happening to you. It's happening as you. Your experience of reality is generated from within, projected outward, then reflected back to you as your life. If this is already opening something new in your awareness, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because we're just getting started on this journey of quantum consciousness. Let's examine this through the lens of quantum mechanics. When a photon encounters a barrier, it has infinite potential states until the moment of observation collapses it into a specific reality. Your consciousness works exactly the same way. Every situation you encounter exists in a state of infinite potential meanings until your awareness collapses it into a specific experience through the story you tell yourself about what's happening. Someone cuts you off in traffic. In the quantum field of possibility, this event has no inherent meaning. It simply is. But the moment your consciousness engages with it, you collapse it into one of countless possible experiences. You could experience it as a personal attack, evidence that people are inconsiderate, proof that your day is ruined. Or you could experience it as a reminder to stay present, an opportunity to practice compassion, or simply as meaningless movement in space-time that has nothing to do with you. The difference between these experiences isn't found in the external event. It's found in the state of consciousness from which you observe the event. And here's where most people miss the profound simplicity of this truth. You are not at the mercy of what happens around you. You are the creator of what happens within you. But let's go deeper into the quantum field of consciousness itself. What science is discovering about the nature of reality mirrors what mystics have known for millennia, that consciousness is not produced by matter, but rather matter emerges from consciousness. You are not a physical being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being temporarily focused into physical form, and this changes everything about how you relate to your environment. When you truly understand this, you realize that every external circumstance is simply consciousness reflecting back to you your internal state. The angry person in front of you is showing you where anger still lives within your field. The chaotic situation surrounding you is reflecting back the chaos you haven't yet resolved in your own being. The peace you feel in nature is revealing the peace that is your true essence. This isn't about blame or judgment. It's about recognizing the extraordinary power you have to transform your experience by transforming your consciousness. When you change the frequency you're broadcasting from within, the entire hologram of your reality begins to shift to match that new frequency. Consider how water responds to different vibrations. Play beautiful music, and water forms gorgeous crystalline patterns. Expose it to harsh sounds, and the molecular structure becomes chaotic and distorted. Your reality responds to the vibration of your consciousness in exactly the same way. When you broadcast fear, lack, and reactivity, your reality crystallizes around those frequencies. But when you broadcast love, abundance, and peace, reality reorganizes itself to reflect those higher harmonics. This is why the people who seem untouchable by external circumstances have learned to maintain a consistent internal frequency, regardless of what's happening around them. They've discovered that reality is far more malleable than most people believe, and that consciousness is the fundamental creative force behind all manifestation. Now here's something that will revolutionize how you see challenging situations. Every person who triggers you, every circumstance that disturbs your peace, every external event that creates internal turbulence, all of it is actually your higher self orchestrating experiences to show you where you're still unconscious, where you're still giving your power away, where you still believe that something outside of you is more powerful than the truth of who you are. The universe isn't punishing you with difficult people and challenging situations. It's lovingly showing you exactly where your consciousness is still bound by illusion. Every trigger is a gift. Every upset is a teacher. Every disturbance is an invitation to remember your true nature and reclaim your power. But most people resist this understanding because it requires taking complete responsibility for their experience, and the ego would rather blame external circumstances than recognize its own creative power. It's easier to say, "That person made me angry," than to say, "I chose to interpret that person's behavior in a way that generated anger within me." Yet this recognition of complete responsibility is actually the gateway to complete freedom. When you realize that you are the sole creator of your internal experience, you simultaneously realize that you have the power to create any internal experience you choose. You are not at the mercy of other people's moods, actions, or opinions. You are the sovereign ruler of your own consciousness. This sovereignty isn't developed overnight. It's cultivated through consistent practice, through conscious choice, through repeatedly choosing love over fear, peace over conflict, creation over reaction. Each time you make this choice, you strengthen your connection to your true nature and weaken the grip of conditioned reactivity. There's a profound meditation practice from the ancient wisdom traditions that accelerates this transformation. It's called taking the seat of the witness. Instead of being identified with your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, you learn to observe them from a place of neutral awareness. You become the sky in which all weather patterns arise and pass away. From this witness consciousness, you begin to see that thoughts are just thoughts. They have no power except what you give them. Emotions are just energy in motion. They naturally arise and naturally dissolve when you don't resist them or feed them with story. Reactions are just old programming running. They lose their grip when you stop believing they define who you are. As you practice this witness consciousness more consistently, something extraordinary happens. You begin to access what I call quantum presence, a state of being so grounded in the present moment that the past cannot define you and the future cannot disturb you. From this state, you respond to life from clarity rather than conditioning, from wisdom rather than woundedness, from love rather than limitation. But let's go deeper into why this understanding isn't just philosophical. It's practical quantum physics applied to consciousness. When you react emotionally to external circumstances, you're essentially saying yes to the story that reality is controlling you. You're collapsing the infinite potential of each moment into victim consciousness. But when you remain centered, regardless of external conditions, you're operating from creator consciousness, the recognition that your internal state generates your external experience. This isn't positive thinking or spiritual bypassing. This is understanding how consciousness actually works at the quantum level. Every thought, every emotion, every state of being you inhabit is literally broadcasting a frequency into the quantum field. That frequency attracts experiences that match its vibration. When you allow external circumstances to determine your internal state, you're giving away your creative power and accepting whatever reality gets reflected back to you. Now here's where this gets practical and transformative. Most people have never been taught that they have a choice in how they respond to life. They believe their emotions are automatic reactions to what happens to them. But emotions are not reactions. They're creations. They're energy in motion that you're generating based on the meaning you assign to events. Watch what happens when you start to see every challenging situation not as something happening to you, but as something happening for you, as an opportunity to practice maintaining your center, to strengthen your connection to your true nature, to demonstrate to yourself that you are more powerful than any external circumstance. The ancient wisdom traditions understood this. They spoke of becoming like water, flowing around obstacles rather than being stopped by them. They taught about the immovable center within that remains constant regardless of the storm outside. But they were describing actual quantum mechanics, the truth that consciousness is the fundamental creative force. And when you align with that truth, you become unstoppable. Here's what nobody tells you about emotional immunity. It's not about becoming cold or disconnected. It's about becoming so deeply connected to your true nature that nothing external can disturb that connection. You still feel emotions, but they flow through you like weather systems, temporary energy patterns that don't define who you are or determine your reality. Let me share something that will shift your understanding completely. Every person who has ever triggered you, every situation that has ever disturbed your peace, every external circumstance that has ever controlled your internal state, all of it was showing you where you were still giving your power away. The universe isn't punishing you with difficult experiences. It's showing you exactly where you're not yet free. And this is where the transformation happens. Instead of seeing challenging people and situations as problems to be solved or avoided, you start seeing them as gifts, opportunities to reclaim your power, to practice staying centered, to strengthen your connection to the unshakable peace that is your true nature. Take a moment and comment below with this phrase: I am the creator of my internal reality. Don't just type it. Feel it as you write it. Let it be a declaration to the quantum field that you're ready to step into this new way of being. Because when you truly embody this understanding, something miraculous happens. The people who used to trigger you lose their power over you. The situations that used to disturb your peace become neutral events. The world that once felt heavy and overwhelming becomes light and manageable, because you're no longer carrying the weight of trying to control what was never yours to control. But here's where most people get stuck. They understand this intellectually, but they haven't rewired their nervous system to embody it. Your nervous system has been trained for years, maybe decades, to react automatically to certain triggers. Someone raises their voice and your body goes into fight or flight. Someone criticizes you and your heart rate increases. Someone ignores you and you feel that familiar sting of rejection. These are not personality traits. They're learned responses that can be unlearned. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a perceived threat. It responds to whatever story your mind tells it. But when you start consciously training it to respond differently, when you interrupt the automatic patterns and choose new responses, you literally rewire your brain. This is neuroplasticity meets consciousness work. Every time you choose to stay calm when someone tries to trigger you, you're strengthening new neural pathways. Every time you refuse to take something personally that isn't actually about you, you're training your brain to operate from a higher frequency. Every time you respond with compassion instead of defensiveness, you're evolving your consciousness. I'm curious, what's one automatic reaction you've noticed in yourself that you're ready to transform? Share in the comments what pattern you're consciously choosing to interrupt. Here's a practice that will accelerate this transformation. The next time you feel triggered by anything, a person, a situation, a circumstance, pause and ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this? Is this story serving me? What would love do in this situation? That pause is where your power lives. In that space between trigger and response, you have the opportunity to choose who you want to be. Most people react so quickly, they never even notice this space exists. But when you start consciously inhabiting it, you discover that you are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You are not your reactions. You are the consciousness that observes all of these things and gets to choose which ones to engage with. If this understanding is touching something deep within you, if you can feel the truth of what we're exploring here resonating in your being, then I invite you to subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency, this way of being in the world that recognizes your true power. Because what we're talking about isn't just personal transformation, it's collective evolution. But let's go even deeper into why this matters so much. When you live in reactive mode, you're not actually living your life. You're living other people's projections of what your life should be. You're allowing external circumstances to dictate your internal state, which means you're essentially being remote controlled by forces outside yourself. Think about how exhausting this is. Constantly monitoring everyone else's moods to determine your own. Always scanning for threats to your emotional stability. Living in a state of hypervigilance about what might go wrong next. This isn't living, it's surviving. And most people never realize there's another way. The way of emotional sovereignty. The path of inner authority. The recognition that you are the only one who gets to decide how you feel, what you think, and who you choose to be in any given moment. This isn't selfishness, it's self-mastery. And when you master yourself, you become a gift to everyone around you, because you're no longer projecting your unhealed wounds onto them. But here's where this understanding becomes even more profound. The ancient wisdom traditions spoke of something called the Akashic field, a quantum information field that contains all possibilities, all potentials, all timelines. Modern quantum physics is now validating this ancient knowing through concepts like the zero-point field and quantum entanglement. What this means is that you are not separate from the field of infinite possibility. You are not isolated from the creative force of the universe. You are an integral part of the quantum field itself, and your consciousness is constantly interfacing with this field to create your experience of reality. When you operate from reactive consciousness, you're accessing lower frequency possibilities from the field, experiences of victimhood, limitation, and struggle. But when you elevate your consciousness to higher frequencies, you begin accessing entirely different possibilities, experiences of empowerment, abundance, and flow. This is why certain people seem to live charmed lives, while others struggle with the same challenges over and over again. It's not luck or privilege, it's frequency. They've learned to maintain a consistent vibrational state that naturally attracts harmonious experiences. The key to accessing these higher frequencies is understanding something that most people never learn. Your emotional state is not determined by external circumstances. It's determined by your relationship to the present moment. When you're fully present, fully accepting of what is while simultaneously holding vision for what's possible, you naturally align with the creative frequencies of the quantum field. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "Be in the world, but not of the world." He wasn't talking about spiritual bypassing or avoiding challenges. He was describing a state of consciousness that remains connected to its source, regardless of external conditions. A consciousness that recognizes itself as one with the creative force of the universe rather than separate from it. Buddha pointed to the same truth when he taught about non-attachment. He wasn't suggesting you become cold or indifferent. He was revealing that when you stop clinging to outcomes, when you stop needing reality to be different than it is, you paradoxically gain the power to transform reality from a place of love rather than neediness. The mystics of every tradition have pointed to this same understanding. True power comes not from controlling external circumstances, but from recognizing your unity with the source from which all circumstances arise. When you know yourself as consciousness itself, rather than just the content of consciousness, you become unshakable. Now let me share with you a practical technique that will accelerate your embodiment of this understanding. It's called quantum coherence breathing, and it literally synchronizes your nervous system with the frequency of the quantum field. First, place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Close your eyes and begin breathing slowly and deeply, allowing your breath to create a bridge between your heart and your solar plexus. As you breathe in, imagine you're drawing pure consciousness into your being. As you breathe out, imagine you're releasing any patterns of reactivity or resistance. After a few breaths, begin to expand your awareness beyond your physical body. Feel yourself merging with the quantum field of infinite possibility. Notice how, from this expanded state, the challenges in your life seem smaller, more manageable, less significant. This is because you're viewing them from the perspective of your true nature, rather than from the perspective of your conditioned personality. Practice this for 5 minutes each morning, and you'll begin to notice something remarkable. The things that used to trigger you lose their charge. The people who used to disturb your peace no longer have that power. The situations that used to create stress begin to feel like opportunities for growth and expansion. This isn't positive thinking or spiritual bypassing. This is practical quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. When you consistently align with higher frequencies, your reality literally reorganizes itself to match those frequencies. You begin attracting people, circumstances, and opportunities that resonate with your elevated state of being. But here's what's truly extraordinary about this process. as you embody emotional immunity more fully, you don't just transform your own life. You become a catalyst for transformation in everyone around you. Your presence becomes healing. Your peace becomes contagious. Your centeredness helps others find their center. This is because consciousness is not individual, it's collective. We're all part of one unified field, and when you raise your frequency, you literally make it easier for others to access those same higher frequencies. You become what quantum physicists call an attractor, a point of coherence that naturally draws others into alignment. Think about the people in your life who have this quality. When you're around them, you feel calmer, more centered, more connected to your own wisdom. They're not trying to fix you or change you. They're simply maintaining such a consistent frequency of love and peace that their presence naturally elevates your consciousness. This is the gift you give to the world when you master emotional immunity. You become a living demonstration that it's possible to remain connected to love regardless of external circumstances. You show others through your being that peace is not dependent on perfect conditions, that joy is not contingent on having everything go your way, that power comes from within rather than from controlling what's outside. And as more individuals embody this level of consciousness, we create what Rupert Sheldrake calls morphic resonance, a field effect that makes it progressively easier for others to access these higher states. We literally change the probability patterns in the collective field, making transformation more likely for everyone. This is why your personal healing matters on a planetary scale. This is why your individual awakening contributes to the awakening of humanity itself. You are not just transforming your own life. You are participating in the greatest evolutionary leap our species has ever taken. The old paradigm of separation, competition, and struggle is dissolving. A new paradigm of unity, collaboration, and flow is emerging. And every person who chooses love over fear, peace over conflict, creation over reaction, is accelerating this planetary transformation. You have a choice in every moment. You can continue operating from the old paradigm of reactivity and victimhood, or you can step into the new paradigm of conscious creation and sovereignty. The universe is not neutral about this choice. It's actively supporting your evolution toward higher consciousness. Every challenge you face is an invitation to choose love. Every trigger is an opportunity to choose peace. Every moment of potential reactivity is a chance to demonstrate that you are more powerful than any external circumstance. This is your evolutionary moment. This is your opportunity to break free from thousands of years of conditioned unconsciousness and step into the truth of who you really are. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of other people's choices. You are not powerless in the face of external events. You are consciousness itself, temporarily focused into human form for the purpose of experiencing and creating in this physical dimension. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself through your unique perspective. You are the creative force of existence exploring its own infinite potential through your individual journey. When you remember this truth, not just intellectually, but experientially, everything changes. The world doesn't feel heavy anymore because you realize you're not carrying it on your shoulders. Other people's opinions don't disturb your peace because you know they're just opinions, not truth. External circumstances don't determine your internal state because you understand that you are the source of your own experience. This remembering is what the mystics called enlightenment, what psychologists call self-actualization, what quantum physicists call coherence. It's the recognition that you are not separate from the creative intelligence of the universe. You are an expression of it. And from this recognition comes the ultimate freedom. The freedom to be yourself completely, to love without conditions, to create without limitations, to exist without fear. This is the freedom that nothing and nobody can take away from you, because it arises from your true nature, not from external circumstances. This is the freedom that makes you truly untouchable, not because you've built walls around your heart, but because you've discovered the infinite love that you are. Not because you've become cold and indifferent, but because you've become so connected to your source that nothing can disconnect you from it. Welcome to this freedom. Welcome to this remembering. Welcome to the truth of who you have always been and can never stop being. Here's what happens when you embody this level of emotional freedom. You become a stabilizing presence in every environment you enter. Your peace becomes contagious. Your centeredness helps others find their center. Your refusal to participate in drama actually dissolves drama. You become what the ancient texts called a peacemaker, not someone who avoids conflict, but someone whose presence transforms conflict into harmony. But there's something even more profound at work here. When you stop reacting to the world, you start creating with it. Instead of being at the mercy of circumstances, you begin consciously choosing which realities to participate in. You become selective about where you invest your energy, what you give your attention to, and which frequencies you allow into your field. This is advanced consciousness work. Most people spend their entire lives being acted upon by external forces. But when you understand that consciousness is the creative force behind all experience, you realize you can step out of victim mode and into creator mode. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How can I use what's happening to expand and evolve?" Every challenging person becomes a teacher showing you where you still need to grow. Every difficult situation becomes an opportunity to practice maintaining your center. Every external circumstance that tries to disturb your peace becomes a chance to demonstrate that nothing outside of you has power over your internal state. And here's the beautiful paradox. The less you need the world to be a certain way for you to be okay, the more the world seems to arrange itself in ways that support your well-being. When you stop demanding that life conform to your expectations, life starts exceeding your expectations. When you release the need to control outcomes, outcomes start flowing more effortlessly. This isn't magical thinking. It's quantum mechanics. Your state of being literally affects the field of possibility around you. When you operate from fear, lack, and reactivity, you create more experiences that validate those states. But when you operate from love, abundance, and creativity, you attract experiences that reflect those higher frequencies. Let me give you a practical framework for implementing this transformation. I call it the 3 pillars of emotional immunity, and mastering these will change everything about how you experience reality. The first pillar is conscious witnessing. Instead of being lost in your emotions, you learn to observe them. You become the watcher of your thoughts, the witness of your feelings, the observer of your reactions. This doesn't mean suppressing anything. It means creating space between who you are and what you're experiencing. In that space, you discover your freedom. This witnessing consciousness is not passive observation. It's dynamic awareness that transforms whatever it touches. When you truly witness an emotion without judgment, without trying to change it or get rid of it, something miraculous happens. The emotion naturally completes its cycle and dissolves back into the neutral energy from which it arose. Most people try to manage their emotions by suppressing them, expressing them, or analyzing them. But none of these approaches recognizes the fundamental truth about emotions. They are temporary energy patterns arising in the field of your consciousness. When you simply witness them with love and acceptance, they naturally return to their source. This is why the ancient practice of mindfulness is so transformative. It's not about achieving some special state or getting rid of unwanted experiences. It's about recognizing that you are the unchanging awareness in which all experiences arise and pass away. From this recognition comes unshakable peace. The second pillar is meaning-making mastery. You realize that nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it. Every situation, every person, every circumstance is neutral until you assign significance to it. When you master the art of meaning-making, you become the author of your own experience instead of a victim of random events. But here's what most people don't understand about meaning-making. You're doing it anyway, unconsciously, all the time. The question isn't whether you're creating meaning. The question is whether you're creating meaning consciously or unconsciously, empowering meaning or disempowering meaning, expansive meaning or contractive meaning. When someone doesn't respond to your text message, you automatically create meaning around that event. You might decide it means they don't care about you, or they're angry with you, or they're too busy for you. But you could just as easily decide it means they're having a full day, or they're processing what you said, or they simply haven't seen the message yet. The external facts are the same in all these scenarios. A message was sent and not immediately responded to. But the meaning you create around those facts completely determines your emotional experience. This is the power of conscious meaning-making. You get to choose the story that serves your highest good rather than automatically defaulting to the story that creates suffering. As you develop mastery in this area, you begin to see that every challenging situation contains within it the seeds of blessing. Every apparent setback conceals an opportunity for growth. Every person who triggers you is actually a teacher, showing you where you still need to heal and evolve. This isn't spiritual bypassing or positive thinking. This is recognizing that reality is far more fluid and malleable than most people believe, and that your consciousness is the creative force that shapes your experience of that reality. The third pillar is responsibility. You recognize that you always have the ability to choose your response. Between every stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lies your power to choose. Most people react so automatically, they never notice this space exists. But when you learn to inhabit it consciously, you become truly free. This space between stimulus and response is where your evolution happens. It's where you get to choose whether you'll react from old conditioning or respond from present moment awareness. It's where you decide whether you'll be a victim of circumstances or a conscious creator of your experience. The beautiful thing about this space is that it naturally expands the more you practice inhabiting it. What once felt like automatic reactions begin to slow down, giving you more and more choice about how you want to engage with life. You develop what I call conscious response time, the ability to pause, breathe, connect with your center, and choose your response from a place of wisdom rather than reactivity. This doesn't mean you become slow or hesitant in your responses. It means you become more authentic, more aligned, more powerful in your responses, because they're coming from your true nature rather than from conditioned patterns. These three pillars, conscious witnessing, meaning-making mastery, and responsibility, work together synergistically. As you develop each one, the others naturally strengthen. Together, they create what I call a consciousness upgrade, a fundamental shift in how you interface with reality. From this upgraded consciousness, you begin to see that the world has always been neutral. and your experience of it has always been self-created. You realize that you've never been a victim of external circumstances. You've only been unconscious of your own creative power. This realization is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because you recognize how much of your suffering has been self-created through unconscious meaning-making and reactive patterns. Empowering because you realize that if you created it unconsciously, you can create something different consciously. And here's what happens when you fully embody these three pillars. You become what the ancient texts called awakened. Not because you've achieved some special spiritual status, but because you've awakened to the truth of how consciousness actually works. You've remembered that you are not a separate self struggling against a hostile world, but rather infinite consciousness temporarily focused into individual experience. From this awakened perspective, challenges become opportunities, obstacles become stepping stones, and difficulties become doorways to deeper wisdom and stronger connection to your true nature. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you, within you, as you. This is the ultimate meaning of emotional immunity. Not that you never feel emotions, but that you're never overwhelmed by them. Not that you never face challenges, but that you meet them from an unshakable center. Not that you never experience pain, but that you transform pain into wisdom and wisdom into compassion. When you live from this level of consciousness, you become a healing presence in the world. Your very being becomes a reminder to others of what's possible when a human being takes full responsibility for their internal state and stops giving their power away to external circumstances. You become living proof that peace is possible, that love is more powerful than fear, that consciousness is the ultimate creative force, and that every human being has the potential to transcend the limitations of conditioned reactivity and step into the freedom of conscious creation. This is not just personal transformation. This is planetary healing. Every person who embodies emotional immunity contributes to the elevation of human consciousness itself. Every individual who chooses love over fear makes it easier for others to make the same choice. Every soul who remembers their true nature helps the entire human collective remember theirs. You are not just healing yourself, you are participating in the healing of humanity itself. You are not just freeing yourself from emotional reactivity, you are contributing to the liberation of all beings from the suffering of unconsciousness. This is the profound responsibility and extraordinary privilege of being human in this time of great awakening. You have the opportunity to be part of the solution, to contribute to the positive transformation of our world through the positive transformation of your own consciousness. The question is, are you ready to step fully into this responsibility? Are you willing to stop being a victim of circumstances and start being a conscious creator of your experience? Are you prepared to let go of the familiar comfort of reactivity and embrace the magnificent uncertainty of conscious response? Your awakening matters. Your healing contributes to collective healing. Your freedom makes freedom more accessible to others. Your choice to embody love in the face of fear literally changes the vibrational frequency of the planet. This is your moment. This is your opportunity. This is your invitation to step into the fullness of who you really are and to demonstrate through your very being that another way of living is possible. These three pillars work together to create what I call quantum resilience, the ability to remain centered and creative regardless of what's happening around you. When you develop quantum resilience, you become anti-fragile. Instead of being weakened by challenges, you're strengthened by them. Instead of being diminished by difficulties, you're expanded by them. Now, I want to share something that most spiritual teachers won't tell you. This work isn't about becoming perfect or never having difficult emotions again. It's about changing your relationship to whatever arises. It's about developing the capacity to be with whatever is present without being overwhelmed by it or defined by it. You will still feel anger sometimes. You will still experience sadness. You will still have moments of fear or doubt. But these emotions will move through you like weather systems, instead of settling in you like permanent residents. They'll be experiences you have, rather than identities you take on. And here's what's truly beautiful about this transformation. As you become less reactive to the world becomes less reactive to you. People sense your emotional stability and respond differently. Situations that used to create drama around you simply don't anymore. It's as if you've stepped out of the frequency of chaos and into the frequency of peace. But there's one more layer to this that I want to share with you. Something that will completely shift how you understand your role in the collective human experience. When you master emotional immunity, you're not just transforming your own life. You're contributing to the evolution of human consciousness itself. Every time you choose love over fear, peace over conflict, creation over reaction, you're adding that frequency to the collective field. You're making it easier for others to access those same states. You're literally helping to shift the consciousness of the planet by shifting your own consciousness. This is why this work matters so much. It's not just about your personal freedom, though that would be reason enough to pursue it. It's about your contribution to the awakening of humanity. It's about being part of the solution rather than part of the problem. It's about modeling what's possible when a human being takes full responsibility for their internal state. And as more of us embody this way of being, we create what's called morphic resonance, a field of coherence that makes it easier for others to access these higher states of consciousness. We become living examples of what it looks like to be truly free. We demonstrate that it's possible to move through this world with grace, wisdom, and unshakable peace. What breakthrough have you experienced in releasing old reactive patterns? Drop a comment sharing how this shift has changed your daily experience. Your insights might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. So as we come to the close of our time together, I want to leave you with this profound truth. You have never been at the mercy of external circumstances. You have always had the power to choose your internal state. You have always been the creator of your experience. The question is, are you ready to step into that power consciously? Drop one word in the comments that captures the energy you're choosing to embody as you step into this new way of being. Let it be your energetic signature to the quantum field, your declaration of who you're becoming. And if you're ready to stay aligned with this frequency, if you want to continue this journey of conscious evolution together, then subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent with the highest possibilities for your life. Because the more of us who embody this truth, the more the world reflects that truth back to us. Consider watching this video every morning for the next week. Let it become your daily recalibration to this frequency of emotional sovereignty. And if someone in your life could benefit from understanding these quantum consciousness principles, share this with them. When you share these concepts, you're not just helping them. You're strengthening your own neural pathways around these truths and creating an energetic ripple effect that accelerates transformation for both of you. The time of being victim to circumstances is over. The time of emotional reactivity is complete. The time of giving your power away to external conditions has ended. You are stepping into your role as the conscious creator of your reality. And from this space, nothing and nobody can hurt you again. Not because you've built walls around your heart, but because you've discovered the infinite love that you are. This is your invitation to freedom. This is your call to sovereignty. This is your remembering of who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and reactivity. Welcome to the end of caring about what was never yours to care about. Welcome to the beginning of creating what you came here to create. Now, understanding this quantum nature of consciousness is only the beginning. There's a specific breathing technique that literally rewires your nervous system to operate from this observer state we've been exploring. The observer breath transforms how your reality responds to your consciousness. And it's exactly what you need to embody everything we've discussed here today.